All right, how we doing? I'm on a drive. I got some business to attend to. Stopped at Bucky's, about to have some lunch. So I figured I'd do a video. Oh yeah, great! You get to watch me eat. I'm sure that's riveting and not disgusting. But I've seen people say this, and I thought it was just like pathetic at the time. But I actually think it's true. It's really liberating to know that you're not going to get any views. Like I'm literally getting zero views, which is kind of interesting because no matter how bad videos are, like my past experiences, I get like a couple of views. So to get zero views, I think something happened to this channel. I don't know, like I swore too much or I said something politically I wasn't supposed to say. Because I literally get zero views. Like I'm on a streak. I don't even know if these views are getting sent out at all, which is interesting. But again, I don't care because the intent of this channel was never to get any views. Turkey sandwich from Bucky's. Yeah. It's not as good as the brisket, but I'm trying to be a little healthier. But I really question whether it's even any healthier. I mean, I'm still eating like a really fatty bread. Like it's like a butter bread. It's still got barbecue sauce. So the fact that it's turkey instead of brisket's probably making a minimal difference, but it's probably making a little bit of a difference. Um, these are the times when I do go off my diet, like when I'm traveling. It's just so hard to find healthy stuff when you're traveling. It's like I kind of just give myself some leeway. But, the stuff going on with Ukraine and the Europeans and stuff. It's interesting. Um, Pretty good. I'm an extremely fast eater. My wife tells me I'm a loud eater too, so I apologize. But I seriously could be a competitive eater. Like if I really worked at it. I love to eat. I'm pretty good at it. Like I can do like a 1 pound burger, like the Fuddruckers 1 pound burger. I used to always go there when I was younger with friends, and I was like the only one that could eat it. And I'm sure that has something to do with the reason why I struggle with my weight. But I find the whole thing going on in the international scene to be interesting. I mean, the Europeans have always been pretty anti-American. That's part of their culture. They don't like us because we replaced their position in the world that they had for like 500 years. But the thing is, they hate us, but they absolutely need us to continue their lifestyle. Because as much as they don't like us, there's one thing they actually like less, and that's the idea of actually paying for their own defense. Because everything they love about themselves, everything they think makes them superior, is just based on the fact that they don't have to pay for their defense. The free health care, to this massive welfare state. All that's made possible by the fact that they can just get away with having basically no military. I mean, think about what the U.S. pays on defense. It's the biggest budget item in the U.S. And the U.S. is the largest economy in the world. So the U.S. is paying a massive amount on the defense of Europe. I mean, it's a pretty good deal for Europe. Now, it's sort of a good deal for the U.S. It basically amounts to a de facto American empire. But it's a very expensive empire, as empires tend to be. And I just don't think the American people are that interested in this empire, you know? I pretty much run the course of every empire. The subjects of the empire start to hate you. They get resentful that they're part of this empire. And your own people start to wonder, like, why are we paying for this empire? What are we getting out of this? And we're actually getting very little out of it at this point. The main thing we got out of it, when it made sense somewhat, was that we were in a Cold War with the Soviet Union. And it was like, yes, we weren't getting the traditional benefits of an empire. We weren't getting the resources of Europe. We weren't getting any kind of tax payments from Europe. In fact, we were paying Europe. We paid to rebuild Europe after World War II because we wanted to oppose the Soviet Union. And then we allowed a totally one-sided trade relationship with Europe to, again, prop up Europe because they were part of our bulwark against the Soviet Union. So it was all expense and no gain from an economic standpoint. The only gain was from a geopolitical standpoint. And the problem with that is that eventually runs afoul of your people. Same thing happened to other, like the British Empire. It started to be like, yeah, we got this glorious empire, but this thing is costing us. It's exhausting us. We're no longer extracting from this empire. We're actually losing our asses on maintaining this empire. And when that occurs, and then there's a little bit of a lag time to the people realize that that's occurring, the empire's pretty much over. Because the people at home want to benefit from the empire. The intelligentsia might have these grand ideas of, like, especially our left-wing intelligentsia hates the U.S. They hate their own country. And so the idea that the U.S. would be benefiting is actually hateful to them. That would be a negative. They like the idea that we're paying for this and we're losing our asses because that's morally correct. It's morally correct for the evil U.S. to lose its ass to help the world, you know? But the average working class person is never going to accept that. They don't care. No matter how much you try to propagandize them to this ideology that they're terrible and they deserve to pay for everything, it's only going to go so far. When they start to really feel it, it's never going to work. And that's the point we've reached. That's basically what MAGA is. MAGA isn't Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is an historical figure, and he has maybe manifested this thing some years earlier than it would have been possible without him. But this isn't a phenomenon of Donald Trump's making. This would have happened and has been happening either way. It's just an historical inevitability. You just start to see all the anti-Americanism overseas. This is speeding up the process with the way the Europeans are behaving right now. Because if you look at the rhetoric of even the leaders, the populace of Europe is so anti-American that even the leaders have to kind of like pander to that now. You see, this past couple weeks, it's just been very anti-American language, and then the only thing they say to temper it is, well, yeah, but we need Americans. We need their money. There's no, oh, but America's the great democracy, the oldest democracy in the world. They're the shining example on a hill, and there's none of that. There's no love whatsoever. It's just, yeah, the Americans suck, but we need their money. And so it's good for the American people to see that. And so like I said in the last video, I don't think Americans are emotional about this the way the Europeans are. Like, they hate us, but we really don't hate them. I mean, that's always the dynamic when you're talking about like a big brother, little brother relationship. We don't really have any ill will towards them, and we even kind of understand where they're coming from, that they don't like the fact that they're not as significant as they used to be, and we've replaced them in that. I think we actually have some sympathy for that. So the hostility is coming from them. From us, it's more of just like, okay, let's understand that these people aren't our friends, really. They're just another group of people in the world. And when we can work with them, when we do have shared values, when we do have shared interests, we'll work with them. But we shouldn't really be tied into like we hate Russia just because there was a Cold War and we always traditionally hated Russia. We have to keep hating Russia, especially when we're entering a new phase of history where China's probably going to be the dominant power, and we need to actually be smart about not just picking enemies left and right if we're going to have to deal with this Chinese behemoth. So from our perspective, automatically having Russia as an enemy just because they always were just doesn't really make that much sense to us anymore. And Europe's gone the other direction. They're just all in on Russia hatred. So if they want to do that Russia hatred, that's fine. If they can actually step up and build a defense and tie down Russia, that might be to our benefit. But I don't see any reason for us to engage in that kind of a foreign policy. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't just pick people out to be your enemies for no reason. There has to be a reason that you're doing things. There has to be an interest that you're pursuing. And I think that's just the way the Americans see it. It's just a pragmatic thing. We'll leave the emotional stuff to the Europeans. They're the ones that hate us, and we live rent-free in their heads, and they're constantly trying to come up with ways that they're superior, and inventing new metrics, of how they're more sophisticated, even though they're poor as shit, and all this stuff. Let them do that. It doesn't really impact us. We're just going to do what we do, and we'll still have a lot of positive feelings towards a lot of the countries over there. There are historical ties. There are still some values ties, although it's not a complete alignment of values. So that's what I advocate. NATO, I think we do need to look at. It's a relic of the Cold War. I think it's actually counterproductive now. Like, it basically just assumes that Russia's our enemy in a world where the true threat's China. So why would we want to just designate Russia an enemy? Doesn't really make any sense for us anymore, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on it. And yeah, pretty disappointed about like Britain's behavior. I mean, Britain pretty much has made it very clear that they're all in on Europe. They're all in on Zelensky, In a choice between Europe and the U.S., they're going with Europe. A choice between Zelensky and the U.S., they're going with Zelensky. And so that does run counter to a lot of what my belief systems were growing up as concerns Britain, but it is what it is. You just gotta accept it and move on. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Gotta get back on the road. See ya.